Today, we're diving into a principle that is really the cornerstone of family life in Islam. It's called Walidain. You can think of it as the beautiful art of honoring your parents, a concept that truly shapes one of the most vital relationships any of us will ever have. Let's get right into it. So let me just start by asking you a question. In Islam, if you think about all the good deeds a person can do, what do you think is considered one of the absolute greatest? I mean, right up there at the top. Just take a second to think about it. Well, the answer is incredibly powerful. When the Prophet Muhammad was asked this very same question, he said that right after prayer at its proper time, the most beloved deed to God is being good and dutiful to your parents. I mean, think about that ranking. It's placed before striving in God's path. That's not just a casual comment. It's a very specific placement that tells you just how spiritually significant this is. And the specific term for this is Birul Walidain. Let's break that down. Al-Bir means righteousness and expansive goodness, and Walidain just means the two parents. So when you put them together, you get this all-encompassing idea of showing absolute goodness, kindness, and duty towards your parents. It's really seen as a fundamental part of a Muslim's character. So why is it ranked so incredibly high? Well, because it's not just a nice suggestion. It's understood as a divine commandment, an obligation that's placed right next to worshiping God himself. And you see this connection made so explicitly in the Quran. Worship Allah and associate nothing with him, and to parents, good treatment. Just look at that structure for a second. The single most important command, to worship God alone, is immediately, in the same breath, followed by the command to be good to your parents. And listen, this isn't a one-off thing. This exact pairing shows up again and again throughout the Quran. It sends this crystal clear message that your relationship with God and your relationship with your parents are deeply, fundamentally intertwined. It's like one is a direct reflection of the other. You know, to really understand what al-bir is, it actually helps to look at its polar opposite, which is a term called al-ukuk. That basically means being disrespectful or neglectful. So while al-bir is all about obedience, kindness, and humility, al-ukuk is about being harsh, disobedient, and causing them pain. One leads directly to God's pleasure, and the other, well, it leads straight to his displeasure. This famous saying from the Prophet makes that link even more direct, almost shockingly so. The pleasure of the Lord is in the pleasure of the parent. I mean, just let that sink in. It suggests that how your parents feel about you, their contentment with you, has a direct impact on your standing with God. That's a pretty heavy thought, right? Okay, so if the responsibility is that serious, what about the flip side? What are the rewards for fulfilling it? As we're about to see, the virtues tied to this act bring blessings that show up both in this life and in the life to come. The sources lay out some pretty incredible benefits. We already know it's one of the most beloved deeds to God, but it's also described as a direct path to the forgiveness of your sins and a major reason for entry into heaven. And it's not just about the afterlife, it's even tied to blessings in this world, like an increase in your provision and a longer, more blessed life. All right, now I'm just going to put a number on the screen. 3. Within this whole concept of honoring parents, this number has a very, very special significance, especially when it comes to one parent in particular. And here's why. The story goes that a man came to the Prophet and asked him, "Who among the people is most deserving of my good companionship?" The Prophet said, "Your mother." The man asked, "Then who?" He said again, "Your mother." The man asked a third time, "Then who?" And for the third time, the answer was, "Your mother." It was only on the fourth time of asking that he finally said, "Then your father." This just highlights the incredibly high status the mother holds in Islam. Okay, so we've talked a lot about the why. Let's get practical. How does this whole idea actually translate into our day-to-day actions? This is really the art of daily devotion. So this isn't just about a feeling in your heart. It's about real, tangible actions. The sources lay out some key duties. You obey them as long as they don't ask you to do something sinful. You show humility, not just in your words, but in your posture and tone. You speak to them with gentle, noble words. You provide for them financially if they need it. And you even seek their permission before big life decisions, like going on a long journey. And to really understand the level of gentleness we're talking about, just look at this verse. The Quran commands believers not to even say to them. You know that little sound of annoyance or frustration? It sets this incredibly high bar for patience and kindness, especially as our parents get older. But of course, this brings up a really natural question. All of these things are about when our parents are here with us. What happens after they pass away? Does this huge, profound obligation just stop? And the answer from the tradition is a clear and resounding no. The concept of Birul Walidain actually continues long after they're gone, transforming into this enduring bond that a child can and should keep strengthening. So, how do you do that? Well, there are a few key ways. You keep praying for them, constantly asking God to forgive them and have mercy on them. You fulfill any promises or debts they left behind. You make an effort to keep ties with relatives from their side of the family. And this one is fascinating. You honor their friends. Yeah, this last point is considered one of the highest forms of righteousness, or birr, that you can do after a parent has passed. Actively seeking out the people your mother or father loved and maintaining a good relationship with them is seen as a powerful way to keep honoring their memory. And there's this really beautiful story that just brings this to life. A famous companion of the Prophet, Ibn Umar, was traveling and he met a man on the road. Without hesitating, Ibn Umar gets off his own donkey, gives it to the man, and even takes the turban off his own head and gives it to him. His friends were puzzled, and when they asked him why, he simply said, "This man's father was a dear friend of my father." That's the principle in action. Just beautiful. So when you step back and look at the whole picture, you see that Birul Walidain is so much more than a temporary duty. It's truly an enduring bond, a commitment that lasts a lifetime and beyond. I think the biggest takeaway here is this. Honoring your parents is framed not just as a social kindness, but as a continuous, profound act of worship. It's one of those deeds that really defines who you are as a believer and helps shape your destiny, both here on earth and in the hereafter. And that kind of leaves us with a final thought to mull over. In our modern world, which so often prizes independence and individuality, how does this principle, this idea of absolute lifelong devotion, challenge or maybe even enrich our own understanding of what family, love, and duty really mean? It's definitely something worth thinking about.